My name's Elaine Brown, and I'm presenting on TB and human rights in the mining industry in South Africa. I found this interesting quote that kind of triggered really why I started looking into why there's such an issue with the mining industry. And it's been a modern day gold rush and great for our economy, but scratch the glittering surface and you'll see that not everyone's benefiting. South Africa gold mines supply the world with 10% of the world's gold, and about 1/3 of the world's gold resources still remain most likely in South Africa. And the South African platinum mines possess 80% of the world's supply. So gold mines and platinum mines are a significant part of the South African economy, but TB and human rights do not seem to be the #1 concern for employers. This is a diagram. It kind of shows that South Africa is the lead in mining across the world. So the green represents South Africa, orange is Russia, and blue is Australia, purple is Ukraine, and yellow is Uganda. And it just kind of shows that it's so vital for the economy in South Africa. So where did it all begin? During the apartheid movement, they set up this program called the migrant labor system, which allowed blacks to come to the cities and work in the mines in order to pay their taxes. So they would leave their families behind. They were offered a place to stay, but this place to stay was informal settlements. This system is still used today, but the system was never truly updated to what is acceptable to live in today. So the miners are given houses that fail to give basic needs such as sanitation and water to informal settlements. And this is where the miners are living. So in the picture, you can see, that's not really where anyone wants to be living. It's worse than where they're living at home. And the government's not providing them any benefits, and they're not listening to them either. So the miners were starting to fight for improvements in their housing. So in an 18-month-long struggle to be heard, they got clean water and a little bit of sanitation, but not much improvement was made during those 18 months. So even though apartheid has ended, there's still discrimination in the mining system. The miners are being underpaid, they're not getting good health care, they're being separated from their families, and they don't have the best rights while working underground. So it's just not a good situation for them at all. So basically, the lack of human rights is continuing on today outside of housing industry. So there's strict human rights laws put in place, like the Constitution, after apartheid ended, but the government's still struggling to meet the social justice needs. So the Marikana massacre took place on August 16, 2012, where police opened fire on a strike for wage increases in the Lomé mines in South Africa. 34 protesters were killed, just expressing their freedom of speech, which is a basic human right. And then also today, as we're speaking, the platinum strike has been going on for about 3 months, and mines are struggling to even stay open at this point because they've been idle. So clearly they're struggling just as much, even more than they have been in the past. So there's also the issue of health in the mines. So the Mine Health and Safety Inspectorate in South Africa passed an act in 1966 which increased the awareness of occupational health issues. And they showed that TB is a huge epidemic that's happening, but no one's doing anything to stop it. TB is an infection caused by bacteria that thrives in blood and oxygen, so that's why it's commonly found in your lung. And another big issue is the exposure to silica dust, which is commonly found in gold and platinum mines. Another factor that is affecting that is the HIV infection rate is nearly double that in the mines than in the general public, and HIV lowers one's immunity, making it more susceptible to catching TB, which leads to about 760,000 miners a year being diagnosed with TB. 9 of those 10 miners will have latent TB, which is just having the bacteria in your body, and then 1 of the 10 have active TB, which can easily spread to between 10 and 15 other minors. TB or health issues are not only an issue in South Africa in the mines. Australia is also struggling with social justice and their health issues as well. So there's a company called the Oxfam, which is a nonprofit organization, which tries to put people before profit. They try and improve the community surrounding the mines and the health issues. Anxiety, depression, and substance abuse is affecting more than 10,000 miners a year. The policies in place are not actively enforced, so the miners do not go and receive the help. So Oxfam is trying to improve having miners go and receive this help. And then this relates to the US in the 1920s, because in the 1920s there was a huge demand for coal, so everyone wanted to go work in the mines. And there was a 21% increase from 1919 to 1920 with the amount of coal being produced. Miners started losing their rights though, because the mining companies were trying to benefit as much as they could from this. So in West Virginia, there was a strike. There was 10,000 miners against 5,000 armed guards, and 1,000 miners were indicted for treason, and the troops remained in West Virginia for a long time. So it inspired other mines across the country to stand up for their rights. And in 1977, the government finally listened to protect these miners. The Federal Mine and Safety Act, AKA the Mine Act, required underground mines to be inspected 4 times a year and the ground operations to be inspected twice a year without any notice. And it shows that this enforcement of an act can improve safety in a situation, because U.S. mines are some of the safest today. TB is not only affecting families, but it's affecting the community around them, because when they come home, most miners aren't living in a house, they're living in informal settlements. So the miners are spreading TB throughout their communities because they're in close contact with their neighbors. So TB is spreading then throughout an informal settlement. And also the work that the U.S. government did in 1977 shows that hard work and enforcement of a law improvements can be made. So if South Africa was to do something to help prevent TB in the mines, you can help stop the spread of it. And whether the government's key influence on economical success comes from the mining industry like South Africa and Australia, or it plays a vital part of the commitment to the production of metals in the U.S., the community relies on others' success to produce the world's demanding needs. And then there's also the lack of treatment. So the main issue behind it all is that there's no treatment really being done for these patients, because they can't really afford to go to the hospital to get the proper treatment they need. And the drugs that they are given take a serious toll on their body, and they're not giving any rehabilitation services to help them regain strength. And that's a major issue to me as an occupational therapy major, because if they can't return, that means that they can't return back to their daily life. So when diagnosed with TB, an occupational therapist will be useful in showing their patients their new physical limitations, work to educate them on the background of TB and how it's affecting their lifestyle and what needs to be changed so they can make a full recovery. So basically what I've learned is mines are an interesting place that have stories to be told and communities to be shared with the world. Does anyone have any questions?
So my first question for you is, so you hit on TB and how the miners are getting TB.
Yes.
How are the miners getting HIV/AIDS?
HIV/AIDS is coming from the fact that they're leaving their families, and a lot of the men are going to other women in brothels and prostitutes on the street and contracting it from them who have previous contact with someone else who has HIV and AIDS.
And did you find that relatable to anything else, any of the course materials?
that was definitely, it was definitely shown in Half the Sky, with so many people having the brothels, and so many women in the brothels contracting HIV and AIDS, and having that also then being transmitted to other men throughout the community who are using their services.
Other questions?